Hey everyone, my name is Alan with Rigoletto Music, and today I'm going to talk about how to get the perfect left hand technique on the guitar in 10 easy steps. Before I begin, it's really important that I mention that each one of these steps is really important. Some of them might seem really obvious, and some of them might seem really easy, but it's important that each one of these gets some individual attention. What we're going for here is an effortless technique that makes guitar playing feel really easy on the body. It's going to make your guitar playing a lot better. So it's really important that you just take some time with each one of these steps and make sure you're doing it correctly. I really recommend getting a mirror or taking a video of yourself while practicing so you can check in and make sure that you're doing these things correctly. Because when you're in the moment and you're feeling the music, you might not be paying so much attention to these little details. Step one is to sit up. It's really important to have good posture in general, but also while playing the guitar. Make sure that you're never slouching while you're playing. It's really hard to do anything good when it comes to technique when you're slouching. So if you sit up, all of these things will fall into place much more easily. Step two is to make sure your left shoulder is relaxed and even with your right shoulder. You never want to dip your left shoulder down. You never want to raise it up. If you're playing something really difficult on the guitar, like a chord or a lick that's really challenging you, the solution is always going to be in your hand technique or the way you're using your fingers. Never lower your shoulder or raise it up to try to compensate for something that's difficult to play. Step number three is to make sure your elbow is floating and relaxed at your side. You never want to stick your elbow out or stick your elbow in. Another thing you don't want to do is relax your elbow on your leg. As you can see, I'm actually breaking rules number 1 and 2. I have poor posture and I'm dipping the left shoulder down. So make sure that your elbow is floating and nice and relaxed. Step 4 has to do with the positioning of the guitar itself. As you can see, the guitar is resting on my right leg here in what I like to call the standard playing position. Another way of playing the guitar is to rest the guitar on your left leg in what's called the classical position. I'm not going to be going over the classical position in this video, just the standard playing position. As you can see here, the neck of the guitar is pointing away from me slightly. If I were to draw a line across my body this way and a line along the neck of the guitar this way, they would come to about a 45-degree angle. This gives my arm a lot more room to be able to move towards the guitar, and in this way, my wrist does not have to bend too much. So if I have the guitar too close to me, I might end up actually doing this, and as you can see, my wrist is bent in a very extreme bend. This is something we do not want. So with the guitar neck being further away from me, I'm able to have a straighter wrist. You may have noticed that steps 1 through 4 have nothing to do with the left hand so far. Well, this changes with step 5. Step 5, you want to make sure you have a nice and straight wrist. When I say straight, I don't mean rigid like this. It's okay to have a little bit of a bend because that's what you need to play the guitar. What you really want to avoid is having an extreme bend in your playing, like this. Playing like this can lead to a lot of discomfort and even to an injury down the line. So if you're playing with your wrist like this, you want to make sure you stop playing like that right away. Step 6 is all about the thumb. Not just where you're placing your thumb, but how you're placing your thumb on the guitar. The one thing to remember is that the thumb is there for support and support only. You want to be lightly placing your thumb against the back of the neck at all times. You never want to feel like you're pressing your thumb against the neck. This can cause a lot of discomfort, especially right in the base of the thumb. So if you feel like you're pressing your thumb against the back of the neck, you need to check in with all of these steps and make sure that you're doing the techniques correctly because your thumb might be overcompensating for some issues you have with your guitar playing. When you place your thumb on the neck, make sure it is right in the middle of the neck across from the second finger. You don't want to have your thumb glued to the neck. You do want it to be able to move around a little bit. Sometimes with chords and with melodic shapes, your thumb is going to either have to move left or right, up and down. You don't want to have any extreme playing positions like this, but you do want to make sure that your thumb has a little flexibility and ability to move. Number 7 is that you want to keep your knuckles parallel to the fretboard. This comes from what I'm talking about with the thumb being across from the second finger. My knuckles are parallel with the fretboard, or they will draw a straight line with the fretboard as we're moving along. This keeps my pinky and my ring finger closer to the fretboard so that they have easier access. If my thumb is closer to my index finger, what will happen is the blade of my hand will move away and my knuckles are no longer parallel with the fretboard. So if I try to use my pinky, it has to come all the way over, which makes it really hard to use the pinky. You have 4 fingers, you want to be able to use all of them. So with having your knuckles being parallel with the fretboard, all fingers have easy access at all times. Makes for really effortless playing. You never want to pull your fingers up like this because what will happen is your knuckles get pulled in. You can also see here that this part of my hand is sticking out the top of my palm. So when I have my knuckles like this, my palm is nice and relaxed, my hand is relaxed and ready to play. Step 8 is that you want to have your fingers nice and tall. This means that this joint right here is going to be higher up so that you have much more leverage when you're pushing down on the string. The opposite, the poor technique, would be having flat fingers like this. See how my fingers are reaching towards the string and the fingertip doesn't really have the leverage to press down on the string. So if I bring my fingers up like this, I'm actually able to use the weight of my fingers more, and playing guitar is going to feel a lot more effortless. Step 9 is don't collapse your joints. The joint I'm referring to is this one right here, and when you're collapsing it, it looks like this. We don't want this, we want this, nice and strong. When you collapse a joint while playing, your finger kind of snaps into this position, and you have to get it out of that before you can move to the next note. That's an extra step that you simply just don't need. The other thing is if you collapse your joints while you're playing a chord, it can lead to your fingers pressing down or muting on the adjacent strings. And this can lead to a lot of your chords sounding dead or just wrong. This can lead to a lot of discomfort and even pain down the line because this is not a healthy way to be pressing down on a note. So start to develop a good playing technique by having nice strong joints like this. The final step, number 10, has to do with the fingertips. So we've come from the posture, the way you're sitting, down the left arm, and finally to the part where your fingers are actually touching the string. There's a part on the string right up next to the fret that I like to call the sweet spot. You want to play right next to the fret. You want to feel your finger touching the fret right here, right on the right side of your finger. This should be every single note you play. There are some exceptions, of course, like with chords. If I play the A chord, as you can see, my fingers have to get pretty far away from the fret. It would just be uncomfortable and it wouldn't sound good if I were to put them up next to the frets. But when it comes to most chords and individual notes, you want to make sure that your fingers are right up next to those frets. This sounds the best, but also helps you to build accuracy and stability in your playing. You want to make sure you do not play on top of the fret, because that creates a muted sound. And if you play in between the fret, this can lead your finger to not be accurate, and you can get a lot of buzzing sounds too, which of course we don't want. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you're able to find it helpful and that you're able to get some really good pointers on your technique. I'll be doing plenty more guitar lesson videos, so please be sure to subscribe to Rigoletto Music, and I'll see you next time.